Yeah.
All right, it is now 6:30 p.m. and I would like to call the regular Cultural Heritage Commission meeting of May 8th, 2023 to order. Before I proceed, I would like to take a moment to go over our meeting protocols for today. The South Pasadena Cultural Heritage Commission meeting for May 18th, 2023 will be conducted in person to maximize public safety while still maintaining transparency and public access. Members of the public can observe the meeting via Zoom. Staff, at this point, would you please take roll?
Commissioner Cross,
Present.
Commissioner Ding,
Present.
Commissioner Morris, Vice Chair Lopez, excused absence, Chair Gallatin.
Here,
You have quorum.
thank you. Next, we move on to the approval of the agenda. Commissioners, do you have any requests for additions or revisions to the agenda? If so, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, I would like a vote of the commission to proceed with approval of the agenda as submitted. Second. All right. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. Next up is disclosure by commissioners of site visits and ex parte contact for items on today's agenda. I'll begin with Commissioner Cross.
No, I'm sorry.
Ex parte communications or site visits.
So, yes, I have by all the sites, not specifically prior to this meeting, but one I go by frequently and not very much. Okay, or Meridian.
All right. Commissioner Ding.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Commissioner Morris. And I drove by the sites at 1400 Mission and 1130 Meridian. I did not make it out to 260 Hillside. Okay, now is the time for public comment. This is the time for comment on general items that are not on the agenda. Staff, have we received any public comment requests either in person or via Zoom?
No, we did not have, we did not receive any comments via Zoom nor via in person.
Okay. Next, we go to our consent calendar. Items listed on the consent calendar are considered by the Cultural Heritage Commission to be routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion unless a public comment has been received or a commissioner requests otherwise, in which case the item will be removed for separate consideration. We have one item on the consent calendar tonight, and that is the minutes from the special meeting of October 26, 2022. Does anyone on the commission wish to pull that item for discussion? Okay, I would like to pull the item. I just have one brief comment on it. This is on page 5 of the minutes under the item number 7, 534 Arroyo Drive Landmark Historic Designation Request. Under applicant presentation, it refers to Glenn Duncan, preservation consultant, and states that he recounted that he has been in the house many times with the original architect, John Galbraith. Well, I know Glenn very well, and I know he's never met John Galbraith, but he has been in the house many times. So I would just ask that that sentence be corrected. Okay, if there's no other corrections or amendments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay. We do have one continued item, and that is 1716 Wayne. This item was continued from our regularly scheduled meeting on April 20th. Staff, do you need a motion from us to continue this?
Yes, Chair Gallatin will need a motion and second. I'll make a couple comments and I'll make motions. I have reached out to Braulio about this project because I wanted to make sure that CHC was not the one holding it up. We had not received the request for a subcommittee meeting, and he advised that the applicants are reworking the architecture and will come back when they're ready. So just want to let you know that the subcommittee was available and have not yet been called upon, but Armando and I are ready to meet with the applicants whenever they're ready. So with that being said, I will make a motion to continue item number 3 for 1716 Wayne Avenue to our next meeting on June 16th, 2023.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we come to our public hearings for this evening, and the first one is 1400 Mission Street. This is a request for a notice of intent to demolish 643 square foot convenience store and a 1221 square foot repair garage at the Chevron gas station, 1400 Mission Street. This is a project that includes the demolition of buildings constructed at least 45 years prior to the date of the application. Such buildings are required to be evaluated by the Cultural Heritage Commission to determine if the property could potentially meet national, state, or local criteria for historic designation. And we have a staff report on this item from Sandra Robles.
Thank you, Allison. So already mentioned, the project is on 1400 Mission Street for project number 2495 NID CUP DRX. The project is located on a northwest corner of Fremont Avenue and Mission Street. Here is an image of the property. It is a Chevron station, and some subject site details are the lot size is 18,255 square feet. The zone is commercial general. The convenience store is 643 square feet. And the repair garage, which you see there in the distance, is 1,221 square feet. Now for some background on the project. Originally built as a gas station in the 1920s, you can see an aerial image of the property. This aerial image was taken in the 1930s, along with the Sanborn. In the 1960s, this property was demolished. In 1962, the convenience store was built. In 1965, the outer repair garage was built. And in 1980s, the project underwent significant renovation. And in 2008, the fuel canopy was replaced, which exists today. Now I provided some background on the previous entitlement, just because this has been a project that was first introduced several years ago. Back in 2015, the project was approved under project number 1807 CUP DRX for the demolition of the convenience store and repair garage, and to construct a 2,223 square foot convenience store and a CUP for an off-sale beer and wine license. The applicant did not exercise the permit, and the entitlement was expired on July 7th, 2015. Oh, and then subsequent to that, in 2017, the code was amended, and the HRE requirement for evaluation of structures of 45 years or older was codified. So as the project description reads, the applicant is requesting to demolish the convenience store and the repair garage at the Chevron gas station in accordance with the South Pasadena Municipal Code, section 2.65E3. Buildings over 45 years are required to be evaluated to determine if the property could meet national, state, or local criteria for historic designation. If the Cultural Heritage Commission determined that the structures are not eligible for historic designation, the project may proceed to the Planning Commission for review and determination. This next slide describes the historic resource evaluation report findings. The two structures proposed for the demolition were evaluated for inclusion in the National Register of Historic Places and the California Register for Historical Resources and the City of South Pasadena landmark designation. Based on the HRE report findings, the subject property is not eligible for historic designation. As such, staff recommends that the Cultural Heritage Commission, number one, finds the project exempt under CEQA under sections 15061B3 and section 15302 and section 15303. And secondly, to make a determination that the two structures located at 1400 Mission Street do not meet the national, state, or local criteria for historic designation, and the proposed project may proceed through the city's development application process. The consultant, Michelle Anderson, who prepared the HRE, is currently on Zoom and is available to answer questions. And the applicant representative, Carl Hugh, is also present if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Sandra. I will turn to my fellow commissioners to see if there's any questions for staff. Commissioner Dane? None. Commissioner Cross?
No.
Morris?
Having been on the planning commission when we came, I need to, sorry to say, I'm very familiar with this project, so I have questions.
All right. I don't have a question, but I would like to correct a statement in the staff report, if I may. On page 4, under NRHP and CRHR criteria, it states the project does not require federal licensing permits or approvals. As such, the project does not qualify for the National Register of Historic Places. The qualifying criteria for National Register is the significance and the integrity of the historic resource. It has nothing to do with federal licensing, permitting, funding, anything of that sort. So I just wanted to get that on the record. Okay, and Sandra, did we have a presentation from the applicant?
No, not tonight, but would you like to say a couple words?
Quickly,
Sure.
good evening, thank you. My name is Carl Hoy with Travis Company. I'm the applicant before you today, and we had an opportunity to work with staff and also the consultant with the credit study. We reviewed the report, the findings and the recommendations, and we are in complete concurrence. I can answer any questions you may have. All right, thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of the applicant's representative? All right, seeing none. At this point, I will open the public hearing. Staff, are there any public comments received for this item?
We have not received any public comments in person, but any guests on Zoom, if you wish to ask a question, please raise the hand on the icon so that way you can go ahead and do your comment. And we do not have it on Zoom.
So we can then begin commission discussion. We'll close the public hearing first and then have discussion amongst the commission. And Commissioner Morris, would you like to start since you're probably the most familiar with the site?
No, I remember reviewing this years ago. And while there was some discussion about the value of the canopy, there was never any suggestion that either one of the firms in this first. It's fine with that.
Yeah. Commissioner Cross?
No comments, other than I wish it wasn't in Center of Mission West. Many years ago, when I was on. Line of the car wash. I would love to see. Residential development, but this is the right.
Thank you, Commissioner Dan. Yeah, I don't have any questions on the HRE. I thought it was very well done. Have no concerns at all with regards to the proposed action here. So at this point, I would entertain a motion from the commission.
I will make a motion that we find this project exempt from the CEQA requirements and determine that the two structures that are located 1400 Mission do not meet the criteria required for historic designation.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Staff, would you please take roll?
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris
Yes.
and Chair Gallatin.
Yes,
Motion carries.
all right. Well, thank you, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing the new structures.
Very good. Yep. We're on it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. It's okay. Yes. Get on the road to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They have an hour, they don't.
No, but they have whatever.
Yeah, no, but they don't actually, they're not giving it. Presentations, which we don't necessarily.
Yeah, show them some. Someone will put them
All right, if everybody's ready, we can go on to our next public hearing. And that is at 1130 Meridian Avenue. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness for a 246 square foot first floor addition and a new 577 square foot second floor addition, an existing one-story 945 square foot single family residence, and a tree removal permit for the removal of 2 non-native trees at the property at 1130 Meridian Avenue. And to present the staff report is our assistant planner, Mackenzie Goldberg.
Thank you, and good evening, commission. I'll be presenting project number 2514 COA-TRP for the project located at 1130 Meridian.
Excuse me, Mackenzie. Did we want to call the applicant again?
Yes, do you mind if I
No,
I
please
get
go
them?
ahead. Yeah, I know.
Tell them there's was new out and something like this.
And
Yeah, I did too.
What's going in there? What we use?
Yes, mixed use.
What's the?
Maybe I think it's more than 50.
Yeah.
Oh, 50 and 70.
running high.
How's everybody?
Good, good.
Good.
How do you like to,
So I'm going to be giving a presentation and then you can, perfect.
I don't think it would be.
This is
I can leave them here or I can pass them around?
Okay, I'm sorry, Mackenzie, proceed with your staff report.
Okay, so the subject site is a rectangular shaped lot located on the easterly side of Meridian Avenue. It's approximately 5,292 square feet. It is zoned RS for residential single family and is surrounded by 1 to 2 story residential uses. The site is currently improved with a 945 square foot single family residence and an 161 square foot 1-car garage built in 1924. At some unknown point in time, an 131 square foot rear addition was constructed. The property is designed in the Spanish colonial revival style with mission influences. Character defining features include the stucco cladding, clay tile roof, parapet detailing, terracotta attic gable vents, and doorway hood reflectors. The property is a contributor to the South of Mission District, which is a designated historic district listed in California Register. It includes 42 contributing properties and has a period of significance from 1885 to 1937. The neighborhood is defined by 1 and 2 story single family homes built in a variety of architectural styles, with an emphasis on the craftsman style bungalow. The applicants are proposing to add a 246 square foot first floor addition and a new 576 square foot second story. In addition, the scope of work includes the demolition of the unpermitted work, including the 131 square foot addition at the rear and then the 113 square foot covered patio. So here's the existing site plan. The unpermitted work that's going to be demoed is highlighted in blue. Here is the proposed site plan. As you can see, the second story is stepped back from the first by approximately 13 feet and 7 inches. Here is the first floor plan. Here is a proposed first floor plan. The interior remodeling is what's hatched in purple, and then the addition is what's highlighted. Here is a proposed second floor plan, which will add 2 new bedrooms to the house. Here is the existing and proposed front elevation, which shows the new second story. The applicant is also proposing a new chimney that is visible from the front. Here is the existing and proposed rear elevations. Here is the existing and proposed south side elevations. Here is the existing and proposed north side elevations. And here is the proposed roof plan. Staff is recommending that the Cultural Heritage Commission approve the project subject to the conditions of approval. Thank you. I am available for questions and then.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for staff? I'll begin with Commissioner Davis.
None of the time.
Commissioner Cross,
None.
Commissioner Morris. And no questions, just wanted to point out an error. Somehow there was a permit from 1030 Milan that made its way into the staff report. So
Sorry.
Mackenzie, does the applicant have a presentation they'd like to make?
A very brief one.
All right.
And I thought, being in a big room with I'll formally read it, even though this is quite intimate. So my name is Susan Maskerman. I am the architect for Aaron. And thank you for your time tonight. And it is great to be back at CHC. And thank you, staff, for your thorough presentation and analysis. And I'm not going to repeat anything that's in the staff review. I know you've had time to look at the drawings and the site. It's pretty straightforward project, so I brought the boards that are enlarged of what Mackenzie had on the screen. It's an addition and interior model of a modest house on a modest lot. It's a respectful project designed in the vocabulary of the existing style of the existing house, designed to step back from the front facade while being fully integrated, which is always the design challenge of a second story addition. And it's designed with quiet details to differentiate the new from the existing fabric. It's a project that meets all the findings for our city, the neighborhood, and the site itself. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have. And thank you, Emily, who's on Zoom.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? I'll begin with Commissioner Morris.
Will you talk a little bit about the differentiation between the second story?
Yes, there were 2 that were pointed out in the staff review. And I apologize because the rendering does show them on these uppermost parapet, but the tile is only going to be on the lower, so we will have a separate cap. And then another detail, again, you have to be looking, but the attic vents will have a different profile. And then we also changed to, which wasn't really in the report, but it's something that we were thinking, is changing to the pair of windows rather than picture windows, rather than single, especially on the front facade. And then, of course, all the new windows are dual glazed, which is an instant way.
And the tree that's coming down in the back, is that the largest one or the second largest one?
That is-
on the street.
That one is the largest one because the canopy does come up. It's a, yeah, it's a Chinese sign. One of those. It's vigorous growers. And it's right smack dab in the middle of the.
Yes. I was also gonna ask a little bit, I'm sure somebody else can also. About the windows, there's a lot of windows being demoed. Are any of them reusable or they're all just trash?
This house is, it needs some TLC, so we are assuming we are replacing. If there was anything that was salvageable, we certainly this, probably more in the interior hardware, and interior, of course. But exterior stuff is better.
Yeah, you know more than most people that we send, you can say that,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Same as true with the front door, I guess the door, the existing door is just. Or saying you'd rather have, right, there's some reference in here that the door. Would be the same as the existing door, but it's in fact a different type door, is it not?
the front door has the V-groove, but it's stained that needs to be. So we were suggesting we paint it, and if it can be saved, right, but if not, we'll put another one in this.
The schedule suggests it will match the existing, but isn't that a different type door or something that I read somewhere? Or no?
No, I think it's
Okay,
the same, yeah, the vertical PG. There's a screen door in the photograph, so that obscures.
It's existing, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. It's great.
Commissioner Cross.
Is the color changing? I've always enjoyed driving by it. You really vote, yes.
This is very interesting. We were just talking about downstairs. We are, I mean, I know that color isn't in the purview. And so it will either stay, and we were calling it a saffron yellow, a cheery yellow, the
Yellow house.
team yellow, and then, but
I'm the only dissenter in the family, so you may win out.
yeah.
It's easy for, yes. Are you able to tell us what the station point or how far from the building this perspective is taken? I mean,
That is a good question. We are. Seems like that we're standing a little bit in the street, but
Mhm.
eye level
Okay.
would be. We never choose a perspective that's. Except when we want to show bird's eye, then we're done.
well, I hope they keep the garden.
Yes,
Good.
you can grab a blackberry.
Right, thank you, Commissioner Cross. Commissioner Day. Okay, just two questions, Susan.
Mhm.
You know, one of the charges of the CHC when we're reviewing second story additions is to ensure that we've done everything to make sure that the second story is subordinate to the
Yes.
original one-story house. And so in that vein, I noticed in your elevations that it looks like the floor to ceiling height on the second floor is 8 feet 4 inches.
Mhm.
Is it at all possible to reduce that down to 8 feet?
It's in a, say, a gable or a hip roof where we have the ability to vault in it. I would say yes, I understand that. In a flat roof parapet. It's I would push back that I don't think it is out of scale or proportions, especially with. This doesn't show, but I think in your packet, the neighbors, which do have.
Yeah.
gables, and they're even taller.
Well, that was one of the considerations, because I did drive by the site and look at it, and I noticed that the neighbors on both sides are rather tall 2-story
Yeah.
homes, so. That sort of allayed
Yeah.
some original concern I had about compatibility.
And would you remind me that the floor, the ceiling height on the first floor is
Boy, it's really tiny. It's
It's 8 feet 11
8
inches.
feet? Yeah, so it's closer to framed at 9 feet, so we are changing the proportions as
Sure.
we go up, but
Okay,
so I would gently push back.
well, I
prefer not to.
will I will defer to your expertise as an architect, and our resident architect, Vice Chair Lopez, is not here tonight to weigh in, but you certainly have done other things to mitigate the addition of the second floor. For example, I really like the articulation on the front there, 3 different planes rather than just a rectangle placed on top of the house. So that's very good. You're actually also increasing the side yard setback on the north side by eliminating those unpermitted structures. That I think one of them goes almost right to the property line. Okay, great. My second and final question has to do with the windows. And that is, would you be amenable to a condition of approval that you provide a window detail to show how the windows will be recessed at the wall plane with a stucco return and no trim?
Yes, no problem. And given new building code, our wall thickness ends up being 8 inches because of the requirement for insulation, which is great for that.
Yeah, once you achieve that
Yeah.
recess. Okay, great. No further questions from me. So at this point, we can open the public hearing, and I'll ask staff, were there any public comments received for this item?
We have not received any public comments in the room. Any attendees participating on Zoom, please click the icon to make a public comment. And we do not have any public comments here.
Okay, very good. All right, so Susan, you're entitled to a 3-minute rebuttal if you wish to the questions or comments that we had. All right, very good. Okay, let's have commission discussion. And Bill, would you like to kick it off this time?
Well, I am, but project. And it's driving by that daily. It's like going north on the Meridian. Going home, and I always notice it. I've enjoyed the garden. I've enjoyed the color. I've enjoyed the architectural style, and it looks good to me.
Yeah, how about you?
Amazing.
Okay. Chris?
I think it's a well-designed house. I have no impressed you with the yellow house, though. It changed its color, which I was talking about last year. And people still talk. You're not alone. It won't go away.
I hate you.
Some points, but you think
Yeah.
it's gonna die down since they have now changed the color.
Yeah.
I have a house of pink before we run it.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank goodness that our residents have the freedom of choice with
Yes.
regards to color. You know what I'm gonna pick on another city, you know what they say in Cerritos? Paint it brown or tear it down.
Oh.
Palace of Roots, the fire commercial painting.
They may very well, it wouldn't surprise me. But no, I think the existing color is fine, the proposed color is fine, no issues there. Okay, no, I have nothing further to add other than I thank the applicant and their architect for this project and this presentation, because it shows once again how you can sensitively do a 2nd-story addition on a historic home and accommodate a growing family. There's sometimes a myth out there that South Pasadena will never allow you to add a 2nd floor on a historic home. It's clearly not the case. That Susan, you've done a great job as always following our guidelines for the historic home, so we appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, we're ready for a motion if someone would like to make it.
I'm basically the motion maker. We will make a motion that we approve the project as submitted, the request for perfectness. We can make, and the tree removal permit. And the secret judgment. We can make the required findings and the project specific findings, number 2, 3, and 5. With the additional condition that the architect supply additional window details showing how the recesses in the stucco. That's it.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All right. So staff, would you please take the roll?
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris, yes. and Chair Gallatin.
Yes,
Motion carried.
and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to say hi. Nice to see you in person. Thanks.
Question about the condition. You want that sent to you and-
And the chair review item, yes, please.
So just when we submit to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, the process, once we've approved the tree removal permit, it's done, there's nothing else they have to do.
I'll let
Uh,
staff answer that, because honestly, I really am not up to speed on
Okay.
the tree removal process.
That's a confused question, so. I think what's it's done right now is tentative approval, so the final approval will be subject to getting a building permit. Okay, so once you're getting a building permit, then probably works upon collecting a deposit to ensure, okay, a deposit for replacement or make sure they, yeah, and also the inspector deposits to make sure they either place on site or pay a deposit, and, the final approval will be subject to issue a building permit. So in return is if the developer, if the property owner, start building the room addition, probably works for insurance.
I guess my question is like, say, just a generic project, someone wants to remove a massive oak tree, and we say, okay.
Oak is. Yeah.
Would there be a second NREC hearing?
Well, see, that's
So,
one question I have too.
Actually, I'm going to stating that if the tree removal is in conjunction with the development project, in this case, the COA in front of me is the development project. This body will be the one reviewing the development project and the tree removal permit.
But that applies to native and non-native. So we, in theory, could approve removal of any tree as part of.
In conjunction with construction.
And does that also imply that we would have the authority to condition said approval by saying we want X number of replacement trees of a certain size?
And so what public works department to do is, I mean, in this case, provide their recommended conditions.
Yeah.
But you can modify that to base on your assessment.
It's like if it's a native tree, we can condition that if they're willing to plant similar native trees of a certain size. Yes, thank you.
So just to be clear, that in a case like this, there would be no further discretionary review of the tree.
No. This body will be missed. By, I mean, I guess, upon appeal, if there's a appeal, if there's no appeal, this body will be. I mean, both project.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
I think they streamlined that like several
Well,
years
they
ago.
recently, because it used to be, but nobody will on where the state
Yeah.
evaluation. Imagine.
Yeah, and then NREC denied it, and then you have to come back and be like, well, now I can't build this extension where I want it to be.
Okay, our third and final public hearing tonight is 260 Hillside Road. And this is a request for a certificate of appropriateness for a two-story, 2,668 square foot rear addition with a balcony to an existing two-story, 5,281 square foot single-family residence for a property located at 260 Hillside Road. And to present the staff report is Associate Planner Braulio Madrid.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, commissioners, for joining us tonight. As mentioned, my name is Braulio Madrid, and I'll be presenting to you today the project located at 260 Hillside Road. The subject site is located on the south side of Hillside Road. The property is close to the intersections of Hillside Road and Mimosa Street. The property is a through lot with a rear yard facing Orange Grove Avenue. The subject site is included in the city's inventory of historic resources. Although the property is not part of a designated historic district, it is part of a potentially eligible district known as the Hillside Road District. The potential eligible district is an interesting group of large single-family homes located on the hill in the north quadrant of the city. It is important to note that the home, as well as the existing rear stone wall on Orange Grove Avenue, are independently considered historic resources. No modifications to the existing stone wall have been proposed as part of this project. The lots are of generous proportions though irregular in configuration. Homes within the district are designed in a period revival style, including Monterey Revival, Spanish Colonial Revival, English Revival, and Colonial Revival. Because the homes descend down on a hill, setbacks are minimal in this district.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is not sharing for some reason. It's not sharing. Yeah.
Thank you. We apologize. The two-story, 2,668 square foot expansion would serve as an addition to the existing single-family residence. The two-story addition consisting of the two-story addition consists of enlarging the primary first floor footprint by 1,334 square feet to create a new kitchen, a powder room, a balcony, and family room. The 1,334 square foot addition below will accommodate a new recreation room with a second powder room. Both floors will follow the same proposed footprint. Other associated interior modifications being proposed to accommodate the addition, as well as a remodel of the existing kitchen into a walk-in pantry to be replaced by the new kitchen. A new jacuzzi is also included as part of the scope of work. Here we have an existing and proposed site plan. In blue, you will notice the proposed addition and the jacuzzi. The property also contains an existing pool and tennis court. Here we have the floor plans of the existing home. The existing first floor contains 2 bedrooms, a study, shared common living area of a living room, music room, dining room, family room, a kitchen, a laundry room, and an attached 5-car garage. The second story has a primary bedroom, 3 additional bedrooms, and a shared den. The project proposes an addition that is approximately a 51% increase to the existing floor area. The addition is being proposed at the rear of the existing 2-story home. In blue, you can see the first floor addition that totals 1,334 to include the new kitchen, a family room, the powder room, and a balcony. In addition, the described scope of work included that conversion of the existing kitchen. Both the balcony and the conversion are highlighted in yellow. The proposed recreational room, powder room, and the staircase total 1,334 square feet. This floor plan is proposed at the lower level of the site, below the first floor, providing access to and from the tennis court. The recreational room is the only living floor area below the existing house. No other additions are proposed at this grade level. The second floor has no proposed modifications to the existing floor plan. This illustration, however, does help identify the new roof line for the proposed addition, which is highlighted in blue. Next, we'll look at a quick picture of the street view from Hillside Drive. As one can notice, the home is only minimally visible from the public right of way. Here's a picture of the existing front facade. Most of the home is not visible from the street due to the existing landscape and trees. However, the proposed addition will mostly be inconspicuous from the front facade elevation. In red, you'll be able to see the small little addition visible from front elevation. Here we have the side yard east elevation. The new addition is located within the red box. Please note that the balcony is angled because the new addition is not perpendicular to the existing building. The image above is of the existing house. Here we have the west elevation that shows the first and second floor proposal. The balcony will not face the adjacent property to the southwest to allow for privacy for the adjacent home. In fact, the balcony will be overlooking the tennis courts facing towards Orange Grove Avenue. Here's the primary rear elevation of the proposed addition. Here we can identify the proposed balcony, new doors and windows, the balcony railings, and the total height of the proposal when compared to the existing. The image above is of the existing home without the addition. The new addition will incorporate brick veneer to differentiate from the existing versus proposed. Wood, accordion doors, wood windows with shutters to match existing, and balustrade railing details are also included as part of the proposed materials. Next, we'll be looking at a few aerial images to get a better understanding of the property. In the red box, you'll be able to see the area of the proposed addition. Next, we'll see a close-up of this area. Here we have some criteria regarding materials from the South Pasadena Design Guidelines. As indicated in page 22, the existing architectural style of the home generally are rectangular or L-shaped in plans with simple roof lines and detailing. This style is recognized by prominent second floor balconies with simple columns. The guidelines also identified on page 23 the architectural details for Monterey Revival, which include exterior walk clad in smooth or sand finished stucco, horizontal with siding or brick. Finishes may vary from the first to second story, short simple chimneys at one of both gable ends. Lastly, page 23 regarding windows and doors usually include paired casement windows or French doors, which are being proposed as part of the project, as well as wood divided like windows, casement or double hung, decorative wood shutters at the windows, and simple small trims at the windows. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff tonight would like to recommend that the Cultural Heritage Commission approve the project exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to sections 15301 and 15331 of the CEQA guidelines and approve project 2543 certificate of appropriateness subject to the conditions of approval. Staff is available to answer any questions, and we also have the applicant and homeowner here to answer any questions. They do not have a presentation for the commission.
Thank you very much, Braulio. Okay, let's see if there's any questions of staff by the commission. Commissioner Day. Okay, Commissioner Morris.
One question which you may or may not be able to answer. I'm always stuck on these projects when we do our conditions of approval. Sometimes we list 1,000 and sometimes we list 4, and they're never always the same, and it's always been an issue because you guys have plenty of work to do. I know during the staff report, but in this particular instance, there's no mention of a haul route or anything like that, and it seems like they're going to be excavating dirt, and that's a windy road through windy neighborhoods to whatever. At what point would would it be public works that would determine the requirement of a haul route? I don't know if any of you know.
I would assume it would.
Sometimes I've seen that as a condition, and other times, like particularly in the hills, Monterey Hills or whatever they list it, but it feels like the neighbors or somebody is going to ask. I don't know how many cubic yards you're excavating, but it feels like there's someone that somebody should probably look at the haul route to make sure that it's not traipsing through all over the neighborhoods.
Special project in this area, which is where we have plenty of assets from the east side. No, from the front.
But would you, wait a minute, make a difference whether you anticipate going down Hermosa to Arroyo or you go down up to Orange Grove. It's not my issue to resolve. I don't think.
I guess a follow-up question for the applicant is, are you gonna be doing any excavation or is that area already? You know, so there will be some. Okay.
Anyway, it's just, I don't know, Steph, if you knew when that is, maybe it's just a condition of approval.
Thank you. Yes, typically we have a building department that catches when these kind of requirements would be added. What we can do is we can verify with our building division to make sure that if the condition is applicable, it is
Yeah.
included as part of this project. And if it's not, we can maybe get back.
Yeah,
into
all
that.
right, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
All right. And Commissioner Cross, any questions of staff? No questions. Raleigh, I wonder if you could go back to the site plan slide that you showed earlier. So I appreciate the fact that there's no alterations being proposed to the historic stone wall, but I was just curious, where is it? Did you point it out on the site plan? It's on the west side somewhere.
Oh, that's the way that it's identified by our GIS system,
Mhm.
but the river rock is actually following Orange Grove around the about.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Other question I had was on page 6 of the staff report where it lists the Secretary of Interior standards under standard 5. Typically, we have uniform language in that comes right out of the Secretary's standards. It says distinctive materials, features, finishes, and construction techniques are examples of craftsmanship that characterize the property will be preserved. I'm curious, where did the reference to Spanish colonial revival come from?
My apologies. That most definitely did not mean to. It is actually a Monterey revival style.
Yes, right. Thank you. Okay, and I believe you said that the applicant does not have a presentation, so we can go into opening the public hearing, and I'll ask staff if there are any public comments received ahead of the meeting or now via Zoom.
We did not receive any comments ahead of the meeting in the room. And any guests on Zoom who wish to make a public comment, please click the hand icon. And we do not have any others.
I kind of erred here, I think. I probably, before opening the public hearing, should have asked if there are any questions for the applicant. I know they're not making a presentation. Since we have no public comment, staff, would it be appropriate to close the public hearing at this point and then ask questions of the applicant? Okay, so I declare the public hearing is closed, and now we'll entertain questions for the applicant. And Commissioner Cross, did you have any questions for the homeowner or the architect? No question. Okay. Commissioner Morris?
I had one question about the brick on the addition. On one of the pages in the report, it says that the new brick will match old brick veneer to match existing. Or is it what?
Yeah, that's a mistake on the company, we propose to make a light gray one that matches the grid that doesn't color.
Okay, so the whole, all of the exterior addition will be a different color.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, good, all right. I didn't.
Commissioner Dan?
Oh, just one comment on sheet A4 on the bottom, it said existing main first floor plan, but that's the second floor, right?
Yeah, I guess technically, staff, the lower floor here is a basement, right? Yeah, it's defined, yeah.
So it is.
So the first is-
Yeah.
Well, no, this
It's
is,
kind of like Europeans call what we call the
Oh,
ground floor,
okay,
they call it the first floor.
but isn't this the second floor plan, or am I reading this wrong?
Well, important lower fans, the existing second floor.
Okay, so it is existing second floor, and it's basically unchanged. except for the roof.
Right, except the.
Okay, all right, so just drop it in.
Thank you. And so I have a number of questions, so please bear with me. My first question is, I see that the firm that designed this and drew the plans is PM Design Consultants, and my question is this being designed by a licensed architect?
No.
Okay, isn't staff, isn't that a condition of approval and standard on all projects that come before us?
For the plan check process,
For the
we would
plan check
require
process,
that
okay, all
they
right.
get a license, or he works under a license.
Exactly, okay. On sheet A6, I had a number of questions. The most pressing question I have is about the brick veneer. I did a little research into the veneer material that you're proposing, and this is a polyurethane product. There's no real brick involved, is that correct? Yeah. And that, I find that troublesome for a couple of reasons. And let me quote them from our design guidelines, page 44, says that original exterior materials should be retained. Imitation materials are generally unacceptable. The Secretary of Interior guidelines recommend against introducing new masonry features that are incompatible in material with the existing. Page 46 of our design guidelines says that new additions should be consistent with the existing building and its architectural style. Details and elements not present on the existing structure or inconsistent with the style should be avoided. So, you know, I have a real concern about the use of what's basically a plastic veneer on a beautiful old historic home like this. Is there any other options that you can offer?
I really have to apologize. I think that the decision when I made it, I think it's solely based on appearance. I think I would like to back the brick with a different color. So I'll definitely will select a popular material that with the same style, but the material that matches the existing.
Okay, so would I be correct in interpreting what you just said as you will use real brick veneer and not a
No,
imitation product?
you're correct. Yes.
Okay,
We understand the importance of it's in the historic style.
mhm. And even though it's not rendered as such in the drawings, I believe earlier, a few minutes ago, you said that the brick on the addition was going to be a different color than the existing. Okay, all right. My next questions about sheet A6 have to do with windows, existing windows, and the roof of the new addition. On the proposed main unit west elevation, you see there are two existing windows on that upper floor. And there appears to be, if I'm reading this correctly, a cutout in the roof line there, so as not to obscure that one window. Is that correct, what I'm seeing?
That is correct. Yes, that's what I think that's the similar appearance of it. It has some picture.
Really, if you could point out where it has that feature, because I didn't see it.
In the sheet A6 forward, you can see on the upper second floor.
Okay,
Oh,
I see, yes,
yeah,
okay.
I think I'm not sure the history of this home. Apparently, there's a lot of addition. There's
Right.
Yeah, the things that they did to make it work.
Right, okay. I wasn't sure whether it was a drafting error or I wasn't reading it correctly, but I appreciate you pointing out where it exists on the home currently. And I certainly wouldn't want you to obscure the window, you know, on that second floor. So my next question has to do with the doors and windows. The legend, the keynote on the legend says that the doors and windows are wood. But again, researching the actual manufacturer and fallout that you have, are these wood windows or are these wood with aluminum cladding?
So that's the color.
Well, that was my next comment, because in the photographs that are provided below sheet A7, which is part of sheet A7, it says exterior wood windows and doors, Sierra Pacifica wood windows, and yet the brochure that was provided was for Hella aluminum clad wood windows. So
You understand that we can.
with no cladding on the exterior. Okay.
I think that's, imagine it's
Correct. Okay. Almost done. My next questions have to do with the columns and the balustrade. There's a photograph, I guess, of each, but it doesn't call out what they're made of. Are these cast stone or are these styrofoam?
But essentially, when I select this material, I think most important is the style of it. We would like to select the more original material again.
Can you elaborate what do you mean by original?
Well, I mean, not
Natural?
yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, again, my feeling, given the beautiful existing house and its historic character, it would be appropriate to use durable, lasting
I
materials.
absolutely
Right.
I guess at the time that I worked on these, I knew that parents was important for me to have the permission of beyond that.
Right,
before I
right.
started the actual
Yeah.
gravel city.
Yeah, and it's interesting, just as an aside, as we're talking about the balcony and the balustrade, in the definition of character defining features for Monterey Colonial, it mentioned balconies with a thin wood post. I'm at a loss, I don't know, I don't see where this house has any Monterey revival characteristics. I know that was a label put on it back 20 years or so ago when it was surveyed. But to me, it's got more elements of American colonial revival than Spanish revival or Monterey. So that's why I didn't have an issue with the appearance of the balustrade. I think it fits in well because we've got some existing neoclassical elements and your columns reflect that same vocabulary. So I didn't have any concern. I was just concerned about the materiality of them. My last question on the elevations is there was mention in the keynotes of a trellis, and I didn't see it or couldn't find it.
That's a mistake.
Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. I had no other questions. Okay, so you have an opportunity for a 3-minute rebuttal if you wish. Okay, very good.
Thank you for the exceptional work by the city staff. Really helpful in that and all.
Yes, most definitely. All right, so let's have commissioner discussion. Jeremy, would you want to start our discussion on this item? Okay, Chris.
I'm glad you thought about the brick. I haven't seen that, and that would make a major difference. It's a beautiful, beautiful. They have some pro product on there, would be terrible. So I'm glad you caught it. But with your comments about the wood windows, the real brick, it's natural materials for the balcony.
Right.
I think this project would be.
Yeah.
I mean, agree with what's been said.
Yeah, aside from the concerns I expressed about materials, I really had no major issues with it. I mean, it's virtually invisible from the public right of way. It blends in well with the existing architecture. And it takes advantage of the topography of the site so that, like I said, it's almost, you're just seeing a little bit of a roof line from the street. If anything, you can see it from the street past the landscaping. So I would entertain a motion at this point if someone would like to make one for this.
I would make a motion that we approve this project as submitted. We can make mandatory findings, we can make the project specific findings. Number 2, that it's appropriate to the size and the context of this neighborhood. Finding number 3, that it provides a clear distinction between the new and the existing and the addition. Right. And number 5, that it adds substantial new living space. Homeowner. I would add conditions that somebody looks at the whole route if there is one required. The brick down in the condition is in fact real brick. You want to see a chair review of what it looks like, or are you good? I think I would like to see what this brick is, the gray or white or whatever you end up with. So that it is a chair review as well as the rear wood windows, call out whatever wood windows you're gonna use, not to tell aluminum clad ones. And how you're gonna do the columns on the balconies, what material that's gonna be, and then Mark would review that as a chair. I mean,
We have a second to that motion.
I'll second that.
Staff, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Dean,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
yes,
and Chair Gallant.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Congratulations, the project is approved.
Thank you.
right.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you can use the.
Or you can hang out. Public comment on annual report.
Okay, now, we come to our discussion, item, which is our 2023 annual commission report. And Matt, do you have something to share with us?
Yes, thank you, Chair Gallup, and members of the commission. This item in front of you is our kind of annual commission report. The purpose of the report is to reflect what the committee did last year, but also we need to establish a work plan for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024. Also, in addition, the work plan will be presented to the annual commission congress, which is scheduled for June 28th at the War Memorial Building. To summarize the commission accomplishment last year, there are many, but we were limited to pick to several of them. So first of all, definitely thank you, Chair and Vice Chair, of the process. 23 residential applications, including some of the big ones. For example, the 1020 El Central School District site, mixed use project. And also Chair and Vice Chair provide project review to approximately 70 chair review applications. So
That should have a big star next.
that's close to 100, could be even more, 100 applications that are reviewed by the commission, by the chair, and vice chair. From big project like 1020 El Central to smaller projects, we did accomplish a lot last year. And second of all, staff brought the landmark designation to this body earlier this year. I mean, starting last year, but also earlier this year. And staff is glad to report that the 534 Royal Drive was designated by City Council as a city landmark. And the third item is help with the commission to establish a more streamlined accessory dwelling process for homeowners wants to demolish detached garage to make an ADU. So staff brought this item to the commission probably around April of last year to kind of introduce what the standards staff intend to do. It's typically for demolition, like the project in front of you tonight. Before we have to hire a consultant. And the consultant, of course, there'll be a cost, time involved for to verify the demolition or the structure itself is having historical significance. But I think most of the time the large accessory building itself doesn't have that, but with the guidance of the commission, we adopted a more streamlined, easy process, which staff can have the criteria to use to make sure we still follow the same requirement, still make sure the building itself doesn't have historical significance. But the key is time. Costs will be greatly reduced for homeowners want to demolish accessory. We're not talking about the house, we're talking about accessory buildings to encourage additional housing production, especially. So staff like thank you for the commission for establishing that. As for the each work plan, staff identify some work plans that the commission could take on next year. One of them is, of course, in keeping of ongoing housing element discussions with community members and different commissions. Staff will like to work with the commission as well as with community members to identify ways in our existing cultural heritage ordinances by any way we can streamline the application process and also encourage housing production. I think I provide some example in the past that, for example, the property owner wants to have a room addition, also that the detached ADU project. Staff can technically work on the ADU project until the room addition is approved. And most of the time, renovation will be public for this body, so that takes time. And that kind of delay the second phase, which they do, so. Staff is looking to kind of get guidance from the commission, for the committee members to find ways to streamline the application process. Make it application process easier for homeowner, but also in conjunction. Hopefully, for those property owner want to do ADU productions, ADU housing. Those ADU will get approved quicker and faster. And second item is working with community stakeholders to promote the historical plaque program. I know our deputy director Allison Becker has been working with Chair Gallatin, kind of ensuring that process or program. I think we're getting close. I think Chair Gallatin can kind of chime in on a little bit after my presentation.
Is this a city limits or is this just?
No, this seems to be the city. And Allison actually has prepared a draft memo on for our benefit, I guess, in our next meeting. Is describing what the program would entail and what the application is and stuff. So I had some comments to that I sent back to the students.
Is it similar to what the foundation folks do when you pay money and maybe you?
Well, kind of, you get a bigger plan and you pay more money too. Yeah, this is a program that would be operated by the city. And basically it's only for the properties that have been designated landmarks by the council. This was done routinely up until about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. For various reasons, it got discontinued. So I think our last 5 landmark properties haven't received plaques yet. But as Allison envisions this program, there would be an application form that the property owner would fill out, and the cost, I believe, that she's proposing is $500 for the plaque. It's larger than the centennial plaques that the Preservation Foundation sells. This one's like 12.5 inches by 8.5 inches oval shape.
Like the ones that are on.
Yeah. Or commercial buildings or institutional buildings. So yeah, it would be exactly the same plaque. And then the way it would work is the applicant submits the information to the city places the order with the foundry, and then the foundry sends an invoice to the property owner. When the property owner pays it, the foundry will notify the city that, okay, it includes the plaque. And we were able to do that with some little ceremony or something, so that people get the full benefit of the recognition.
Who decides where it's placed?
Well, that's one of the questions on the application form, and I think Ellison even included a note there that it's suggested to place it, where it's visible from the street or on the front of the home or building, wherever, they'll put it behind a tent, porch post or something, put it out there prominently where people can see it.
And the third work plan that staff is proposing is promote our Mills Act program. And last year, 2022, this body hasn't been processing Mills Act, but this year we do have one that's pending. So staff is proposing to kind of promote that Mills Act program to educate the public the benefit, but also the tax benefit, but also the incentive for the homeowner to use that program to the tax benefit, but also for getting a tax benefit to use it for property maintenance to upgrade this affordable homes. Another item is, I think staff mentioned it last year, but staff is what kind of is kind of window and door to educate the public, like what's appropriate, like what shouldn't, what's the Secretary of Interior standard is. For example, we also encourage adapt reuse of existing windows. And there are other ways like with efficiency without changing the brand new custom windows. I think there's a lot of staff need to do to educate the public. To let them know where, like, what are the options out there, so just go ahead to 100% renovation. And kind of this includes staff's presentation and staff taking comments, suggestions, or changes to the items.
Thank you, Matt. Does anybody have any comments, corrections, or questions on this item? Well, no, and as a matter of fact, I remember a month or two ago, I think, when Angelica attended one of our meetings, she mentioned that it was, funds were budgeted for it, for the
Staff
coming
want
fiscal year,
to,
correct?
yes, but, staff want to, I think last year we.
That doesn't
we
mean it gets
identified-
underway on July first, but, you know,
We identify since, I think we'll get to the staff comment regarding our housing element of the
Okay.
since a lot of the work program in the next.
It's spent $1 million on the housing element. So I don't know, if there's enough to go around.
I think what we need to do since we're on the direct supervision of the HCD for the next 12 to 24 hours, 24 months. We have a lot of things to do housing element related. For example, number one, encouraging housing production, streamline application process. That become our priorities. I think the current ordinances was updated in 2017. I think for the past several months, I think staff heard a lot of suggestions from the commission about what can we do to make it more efficient and cost effective. I think something we're thinking about HRE costs that are too expensive for homeowner for some houses that obviously is unlikely to be here. So I think this is number one become the priority. I think staff will definitely tackle the inventory, but I guess priority kind of shifting.
Totally understand. I totally agree.
But I was, right,
Ask a question that is kind of related to this, just for FYI, when I heard the community and then if I come in front of me. If I have a historic home, right, and my old rinky-dink garage is deemed not to be historic and it gets demolished. Brand new garage is put in. And at some point I want to like make that into like a 2-story ADU. Does that come before DRB or THC?
ADUs are by state law,
Like,
ministerial.
even if I want to go
So
into
it
stories.
doesn't have any historic significance in itself, because it's brand new.
And two-story ADUs, do they require any discretionary? review? I don't think
so
you can.
I think May 2021, this body and also planning commission recommended changes to our ADU ordinance, which we allow second story, 2-story ADU to her historic home if the main house is historic.
Right.
That would not go through any entitlement process.
But of course, we're establishing a design criteria, there's like setback, there's some access, there's.
Am I right to say that it's, we can do it by right, because that garage does only is.
Yes, I mean, state laws.
And just generally speaking,
Yeah,
if
it's a
it's
good
a
thing.
historic
Yeah.
property and your detached structure is not
It's-
historic, then it doesn't somehow fall under any.
And
Although the historic significance of the garage existing or lack thereof would be addressed in the HRE report. And so, you know, it kind of depends to a certain extent on the author of the report, because some authors. What am I trying to say, preservation consultants would tend to place more emphasis on the relationship between the garage and the house, and then with the spatial relationships, yeah.
Kind of thing on that
Yeah.
stuff. Okay. Curious.
But the ultimate decision is ours, you know, the HRE. So, okay, any other questions? Matt, I have a couple, as always. On the accomplishments list, number 2, last sentence says city staff and the chair are reinstituting the historic plaque program. Could you please change chair to commission? I don't want, nor do I deserve the full credit or partial credit for that. This is a team effort by the commission, so. So, thank you. And then the second item I wanted to comment on was in the work plan, the production of a door and window handout for public education. And Matt, you and I had a conversation the other day, so kind of let you know what's coming. This is Art's opportunity to bend a little bit. I was expressing to Matt some frustration. I've seen a trend recent of chair reviews coming to me, where an applicant wants to change out every single window in the house. And depending on the application, sometimes I get all the information I need, other times I don't. And having been on that side of the counter, I know how it is. For some applicants, it's like pulling teeth to get, you know, the simplest things from them. But I think it would be beneficial and ultimately time saving if we had a checklist of submittal requirements that staff could, hand to the applicant and say, your application's not complete until you've got all of these things.
These are federal permits for.
For window, yeah, for window and door change.
We've been trying to-
Yeah.
Would you also then include what's acceptable and what is discouraged?
Well, I think that's where the brochure probably comes
Yeah.
in, it's more of an educational
Yeah.
thing, because, and frankly, I think this commission, this city is probably tilted more on the lenient side when it comes to how we address window change outs, oh well. And we, for example, have had precedent where we've said that we'll accept composite window materials like fiberglass, or we will accept wood windows that are clad in metal. Because now the technology exists to make these almost indistinguishable from a wood window when you're looking at it, plus the benefits of longer return durability and less maintenance. So, yeah, I think to answer your question, that's exactly, I think, what staff has in mind with the brochure. So I was just, venting about trying to get consistency in the submittals. And again, I fully appreciate from staff standpoint, there's this push and pull, you want to check all the boxes, but at the same time, you want to see the application move forward. And so sometimes maybe we get something that's not quite complete, and then we, at the end of the day, we end up spending more time on it. So that's it.
Thank you so much. That's definitely acknowledge that we need to do, we need to do a better job of presenting the adequate, complete information. That's just to share also for the whole community.
And Matt, do you need a motion on this item from us?
Yes, I think before staff, I think staff will work separately with the chair to get a message for the.
And you get
first page.
Congress.
Yeah, I know.
Well, somewhere I know, really not.
What's for dinner?
Last two I've been doing.
Chicken.
Yeah,
Yeah. Almost all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's somewhere, I hope the staff gets to tell somebody, council, how well you put up on the minutes, because those minutes were a nightmare. The fact that you guys are as close as you are, they had something like 3 years worth of minutes.
Wow.
Which they had to listen to and kind of say, but remember who people were, anyway, you guys have done it.
Do you want to add that to the accomplishment
Well,
list?
but it isn't ours, that's 100%.
Maybe for the commission too,
Oh.
how to, I remember what we did 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, the fact that
I
you
think listen-
become current with the minutes is, it'll only be helpful for us because we don't remember, but somebody should step them on the back.
Well, that's a great suggestion, and it's especially most beneficial to the public.
Yes.
Because the public needs to go back and look at what happened on a given date now.
Is that you doing that? No. Okay, well, we're doing it, they're doing it.
No, I previously recognized the individual, her name's Evelyn Dolphin, I was gonna say Diamond Dolphin. We worked together in San Gabriel over several years, and she's out of this world, she does a fantastic job.
Well, you obviously devoted some time and resources to making this happen, so. You guys should-
So if you need a motion, I would move that we approve the annual report and the work plan for next year, subject to the comments that we provided. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, well, now we'll move on to comments, and our city council liaison is not present tonight. Comments from my fellow commissioners. Chris, do you have anything you to share?
No, I don't.
Okay, how about you, Bill? Nothing? Okay, Jeremy? I don't have anything either. Okay. Yeah, and then comments from subcommittees?
I already gave them. For
Okay,
the 17.
yes, thank you, appreciate that.
And maybe we're interested in every other, but giving your comments and everything about the, I'm scared to ask you to do anything else but that. So that's not.
Oh, okay. I must have read my mind.
You want to talk, I mean,
Well, let's take, next up is comments from staff, so let's hear from staff.
I think like every meeting, and every commission, I think one of the big comments was our housing element. What do we do? What do we verify seeking? So I think Wasn't already heard, we got a letter from the city. On Tuesday, or it was on Tuesday, and they were saying that we're substantially performing the traffic limit backward, but however, still subject to our zone change. So they expect us, they want us to perform the zone change within 120 days before they can give us.
Zone change with a height.
No, not the height, so the general plan and the zone change. The height will
Questions have to be placed on the
Yeah.
ballot.
ballot
Next year.
2024 for the ballot. That's not something.
So we now have a compliant housing unit or a semi-compliant.
Well, you know, it may sound like semantics, but I think that's a very, very
What is the
significant
zone?
term. Because we're talking about the.
That's the way it's codified, right?
Candidly compliant, well, here's where I was going with it, Jeremy. As we know, there's been talk about builders remedy projects in town, and I'm just curious from a legal standpoint. If substantially compliant immunizes you from builder's remedy now.
That's a good question that
Yeah.
we're still looking into, because I think it's so unprecedented.
Yeah.
There's no court case, there's no, what do we do? So I think the key thing is HC told us we need to do our housing element. I mean, general plan and housing. Zone change update, moving the proposed. Downtown specific plan.
But then
So
the
it
next,
is on this one, because that's our majority of our housing,
Yeah.
for example, I mean, we should.
And that's a little faster time frame than under the settlement, right? Wasn't the settlement 180 days?
So,
But it's always been 120. Still.
so I think continue to that, we're gonna have a lot of summer engagement with the community about general plan update, downtown specific plan update. I think just let the commission know that, the previous consultant that worked on general plan and downtown specific plan. When Walla Associate is coming back, it's our city consultant, but I think a lot of community members know from Walla, so. In June or July will be a lot of fast track sprint community engagement, because we only have 120 days to do this.
Notification.
So I think, but at least we know what we need to do, and we know the goal line, 120 days, get it done.
Well, that's a significant achievement to get that substantial compliance from the HCD. I know it comes with strings, but.
I guess I would have asked Evelyn this, but has there been a public announcement about the city attorney? I saw it was on closed session, on Wednesday's council meeting, last week, 17th? This week, yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
So was there anything announced with regard to that? 'Cause I would assume they would be the one to tell you about.
Yes, what happened is, actually, it's mostly, that we need to in our needs to select. Select new city attorney services. So I think right now, city council shooting do all the interviews.
Oh, that's good. So nothing was announced.
And nothing is official at this point, so we'll wait for the city council. to bring it out now.
So I just didn't know if that announcement happened yesterday and then missed it.
And then one more thing is, June 28th, commission congress. Calendar.
Okay, great. Any questions of staff?
One thing I always like to ask is how staffing, and people and.
It is a top job.
Anybody?
So we're in the process of recruiting a senior planner and also a planning technician.
Okay.
I think we all know it is a tough labor market. Especially I think for construction, urban planning, engineering, architectural, and all the job types, they all start hiring all the. Urban design professional trade, so we're showing a process between the senior planning also.
You know, we're in mid-May, approaching June. This is the time when universities are graduating their classes. Does the city do outreach to the local universities that have planning programs like USC, that other place in Westwood and Northridge?
It's actually, city manager office is doing a summer internship program, not just in university, but in high school. So I think city manager office and also like HR wants to have a more coordinated effort when they have a lot of candidates that you need. Find out which department has the need or which head has more fit. For example, public works, community services, city manager office. I think we have so many area and offers and organizations, right? Just young students participate, join us.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the question that Chris
Yes, yeah,
passed
come
on. And it's fine if you don't know, but do you have any update on the Rialto vis-a-vis the improvements that were done inside, the alterations done inside that were done without permits? I know that Ellison drafted a letter, I think back in December, to both the tenant, Mosaic Church, and the Schumachs, property owners. Do you have any update where we stand with that?
Unfortunately, staff, doesn't have any update at this point, but staff will reach out to Allison and Allison back to the county. Commission what should plan an update. Well, they're under CUP, aren't they?
They are, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think you are. Planning commission. at that time. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Matt. If there's nothing else, then I would move that we adjourn to the regular Cultural Heritage Commission meeting scheduled for June 15th, 2023 at 6:30.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for accommodating me with this